for me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the LouieTeeNetwork Exclusives Week 18 kickback session, our final kickback session that pertains to the actual regular season. The next time we meet doing this, we will be talking about results. So this is a bittersweet episode. This has been a fun year. This has been the biggest in terms of the Louie T Network and the exclusives. We're talking about a pot that is $1,475 and somebody's going to win it. This time next week, I'll be sending out that bread to somebody. Who that will be? Anybody's guess? I mean, we've got a hell of a barn burner going on right now. And I challenged you guys last week to put your best foot forward. Like, actually go get the money. Go get the money. Like, y'all were playing around last week. Like, you didn't want it. And that's fine. If you don't want it, somebody else does. I thought the performances of those who were chasing after the money and were in a position to go grab it was much better than it was a week ago. This was a much easier week. But last week, I thought was an easy week as well. This week was even easier. So I think the results reflect that. And so we'll take a look at all of the LTN exclusives. And we'll put a bow on this thing because this is it. This is your last chance. If you haven't played in the weekly pick'em pool at all this season, why not get in on this last opportunity? If you've been playing all year, this is your last chance to finally claim victory. If you've already claimed victory once, here's your last chance to do it again. Like someone like myself, I've already won once, but once isn't enough for me. I'm actually disappointed. Even if I were to win, I'd feel good about closing the show with a dub, but I'm still going to be pissed off because I've only won once this season. And if I won again, it'd only be twice. I want more. I'm used to more, but there's been more entrance this year. There's no excuse for what I've done this year. I just been garbage across the board this year. So I'm not going to even sit here and make any excuses. I haven't been good this year at all. I'm not proud of what I've turned in, and it'd be nice to finish on a high note, though. I will say that. And so we'll see what we can get done. I set a few goals for myself. I did not help myself in that regard this week. I said there were about 4 people in particular that I wanted to beat. 100 grand, Boss Man, of course, Derek B. I think those were the main group. It may have been one more person in there that I said I would like to take down. But I didn't do myself any favors this week. I didn't do myself any favors. So, and this was an easy week. So no excuses, none whatsoever. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. So let's get to the winners. Let's start with weekly pick'em like we usually do. And we'll do that first. And then we'll get into the weekly pick'em, or the winners and losers, rather, excuse me. And then we'll go from there. So, weekly pick'em. We'll get in there. And with this one, I can actually go down to the bottom. Y'all can see it a little bit better. Really disappointed. This week, I didn't stand a chance. So I'm not actually upset. Ricky D Hustle. Ricky, shout out to my guy Rick. So Ricky hit me up immediately. I want to say it was the New Year's Eve toast, the New Year's toast that I did, celebratory toast. And he was like, yo, I went for it because the Packers game was already over. And he's like, bro, I went 14-2. You can go ahead and I know I won winners and weekly pick'em. I'm like, bro, if you went 14-2, I can send you the money right now. I know ain't nobody clearing 14-2. I can assure you of that. I've been doing this for too long. I know 14-2 is a winner chicken dinner. This is a very easy week, but there was still like Arizona over Philadelphia. Like that's a loss for just about everybody. There was still Tampa Bay losing to the Saints. Most people picked Tampa. The Saints weren't playing very good football. So I think most people picked the Seahawks over the Steelers. So there were still some things you had to navigate. And he was able to pretty much do it flawlessly to the tune of 14-2. So nobody really had a shot. There was, I think somebody had 3 losses in here. Don't give me the line. I think somebody had 3 losses, though. Yeah, Day Walker. I know that's one of those times where you go, bro, what do I have to do? I mean, what more could I have done? I went 13-3 and it wasn't enough. That's the shit that's been happening to me this year, right? I would love to sit here and tell you wouldn't let that shit happen to me, though. But that's the kind of stuff that's been happening to me this year. Like, I do everything in my power. I even hit the number on the head on Monday night, but I'm still 1 short. You know, it's a hell of a week for Ricky D Hustle. That's how you hustle and flow. So shout out to Ricky D Hustle for getting it done in week 17. I got to have week 18. I got to have it. As a wise man once said, I like you. I want you. I'm going to have you. I need this last one. Because I like this last one. I want this one. And I'm going to have this last one. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 65 coming your way. I'm going to send that to you as soon as we get off this stream, Rick. Shout out to Ricky D Hustle for getting the dub in week 17. And I got to have it in week 18. I got to have it in week 18, man. Let's get to our winners and losers from week 17, and shit's heating up. This is it. This is your last opportunity to stake your claim for the chip, for the strap, the chip, the right to call yourself the champion, because this is a grueling process. Like, what a lot of people don't think about when they first sign up is just the commitment that it takes to be able to do this for 18 weeks. I think people underestimate just how long of a process that can be. I think some people take it for granted. And then you get in it. And then I told you, life be lifing sometimes. I get it. Some people become overwhelmed. Others, they quit. They don't think they can win. They don't see a path to success, and they give up. Whatever the case may be, a lot of people don't make it to the finish line. And tonight is the night that I like to count. So we can go all the way back to week 1 and see how many people started and then how many fell off the wagon. This happens every year. The number is 59. I already counted, but we're going to count again just so you can see. But I've counted this already. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 50. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 59. Okay, 59 participants is what we started out with. You fast forward, that was week 1. Everybody was excited. Everybody felt like they had a shot. You fast forward to week 17. We are on the precipice of this thing being over. This is the penultimate week. Let's count how many people we got still sending in picks. And as you can see, we got a couple of lines where it's all red, right? So we're going to drop off a few more people before this is all said and done and trim off the fat here in a bit. So we're not even going to count the people with all reds, right? We're going to skip over them. So we started with 59. As of week 17, the number of people that sent in picks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 38 people sent in picks this week. Out of what was 59 to begin with, 21 people have fallen by the wayside. It is a long process, just like this NFL season. This is a long process. It is not a sprint. It is a marathon. It is a war of attrition. Can you last? Can you be consistent? This is the ultimate test. You can be good for 1 week. You can be good for 2 weeks. You could be good for 3 weeks. Can you be good for 18 weeks? Can you be good for 17? Usually, you're going to have a stinker or two in the mix. It's how you bounce back. It's how you avoid the lowest of lows. So you had a rough go of it 1 week. How did you bounce back? How did you respond? That's what this measures, right? How you respond to adversity. Some people quit. Others dig in their heels and refuse to go away. Some dig even deeper holes for themselves and continue to try to go chasing after wins after a rough week. I got to get it back. So they go picking craziness and dig an even deeper hole for themselves. Whatever the case may be, shout out to everybody who is in the position to make it to the finish line, because as you can see, not everybody made it to the finish line. I don't mind taking the $25, even though I'm not going to win it, which sucks. But let's talk about those who have a shot at winning it. So before we take a look at this week's color, as you can see, it's not a lot of it. Let's take a look at last week's color, shall we? So Big Baller Blake, who took the lead 2 weeks ago, remains in the lead going into week 17. Last week, you had Smack City, who had been the leader in the clubhouse for much of the season, in second place, right on the heels of Big Baller Blake. And then you had, I think, a 2 or 3-way tie for third. Coop, Soul, and Jordan Jones, who was the newest entry into the top 3, all tied for third place. Navy Ramjet, for the first time this season, tasted the sour and pungent taste of defeat, or as we call it here on the LouieTeeNetwork's exclusives, the Piss Cup. Bronco Kid was the peak performer last week, going 13-3. And so that's what the color looked like last week. So you fast forward to this week, however, and as you can see, it's just one person in first, one person in second, and one person in third. That is it. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't others lurking in the shadows and in a position to strike should things go awry. And week 18 is much like week 1. You have no idea what is going to transpire. None. And there is a massive swing that can take place if you're not careful. If you think you've got it in the bag and you come out slipping and tripping in week 18, you can get got. I've seen people go into week 18 with a 3-game lead, lose, and somebody lose by 4 games to somebody that was trailing by 3 and lose. I've seen it happen because it's so unpredictable. You don't know where these guys' minds are, the teams that have already been eliminated. You don't know who's going to play hard for their head coach, who's going to play for pride, who's packing it in already, who's already mentally on a trip to Hawaii or Malibu or Mexico or South America. You don't know where these dudes' heads are. You don't know what the teams who have already clinched, they're not playing their starters, but their backups could come in and kick ass. You don't know what the hell's going to happen in some of these games. You got to predict it, right? But let's take a look at week 17. Let's start with Big Baller Blake, who came into the week as your number 1. Had a 12-4 week, which is a good week. Again, this was an easy week. To me, the worst you probably should have done was 11-5. Much like last week. I think I said the same thing last week. You shouldn't have been any worse than 11-5. 10-6, okay. But there's no way you should have found your way out of double digits this week. 10 12-4 is really the going rate. And, 13-3, you had a great week. 14-2, you were outstanding, excellent. Anything above that, and you were out of your brains. You were out of your gourd. 12-4 gets it done. Keeps him in first place, sole possession of first place. Why is that at 169-87? Why is that? Because Smack City did the exact same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, or excuse me, Smack City went 11-5, so he dropped back a game. So now that gives him a 2-game cushion going into week number 18, which is big. This is the biggest lead I think Big Baller Blake has had since taking over first place. So he's got a little bit of breathing room. Smack City fell back an extra game. Doesn't mean you're in the clear by any stretch of the imagination. I just laid out for you that week 18 is as wacky and zany as week 1 can be. So you've got to navigate the week very carefully to ensure victory. Jordan Jones still waiting in the wings. I think 12-4 was what Jordan Jones did. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's an excellent week for Jordan Jones. And what he's effectively done is he's closed the gap between himself and second. So that puts him even closer to first, right? So he's only 3 games back of first place. And look, we can end up with a tie. We had a tie in Soul Survivor pool. We could have a tie here too. Who knows? I've only seen it close like this twice before. It usually comes down to the wire, but we're literally separated. First and third are separated by 3 games. Second is separated. First and second are separated by 2 games. And then you still got a slew of others that are sitting right outside of third, right there waiting. Like if you have an epically disastrous week, there are a few people that could, sneak in and get it done. I mean, there's no penalty for doing crazy, outlandish things in this week because this is it. So you got to be careful, right? Because the people that are out there with nothing to lose, they're saying, well, why not pick this team? Why not pick that team? And if that team comes up big for them, so be it. But that could also backfire, obviously. But let's go through the entire week and see what's what. So Coop was in third place, tied for third last week. Unfortunately for Coop, he did not fare very well this week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 and 6 is and I think what really kicked off his chain of events was he went Detroit on Saturday night, and boy, he got robbed. Like the Lions did, he did, and that kind of set off a chain of events that sent his weekend spiraling in the wrong direction. And he told us this though. Coop told us about 3 weeks ago, maybe it was a month ago, hey, I got to start coloring outside the lines just to see what happens. I can't keep going status quo. I'll never catch up. And he rolled the dice with the Lions. Unfortunately, it didn't come up the way he needed it to, but not for a lack of trying. He went 10 and 6. Silver V went 12-4, I believe he did, 163 and 93. So you can see he's still right outside of the top 3. Not close enough to strike being back 6 games, but it's a hell of a year for Silver V. That's for sure. Daywalker, 13-3. We talked about that. His weekly pick'em was 13-3, and he didn't get it done because Ricky D Hustle went 14-2. So Daywalker turned in a hell of a week. And unfortunately, he probably still won't be a peak performer here on Winners and Losers, however, because of Ricky D Hustle. Twin D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, wait a minute. See, Twin D has been outstanding this year. And we've talked about the nature of what he had done in the past, which has been up and down, sporadic. I didn't worry about Twin D because I always knew he'd come back crashing down to earth, even when he had a good week or 2 good weeks. He'd have a week like this. He's avoided this year. He's avoided this, and unfortunately, he is reverting to his old ways here. So I'm gonna have to drop some piss on them right now. I can't see anybody else besting 9. There was no cause for a 9-piece this week. This week was too easy to have a 9-piece. I can understand a 6 or even a 7, right? 7's a little bit much for me because you're out of double-digit wins at that point, but I could see it. There were enough games that, were close enough that you could have gone either way. Atlanta, the Eagles game got just about everybody. The Bucks game got a lot of people, most people. The Seahawks game probably got a lot of you. The Minnesota Green Bay game, that was a 50-50 game. So was the Colts and the Raiders. But when you lose 9 games any week, but in a week like this in particular where it's easy, you had to be special. And if you look at what he did, he went out of his way to get 9 losses. I'm not gonna hold Detroit against him because the Lions should have won that game. They were robbed. But I picked the Falcons too. I can't even knock the hustle, but that turned out to not really be all that close. They were dominated by the Chicago Bears. But you pick Carolina. When you pick Carolina, you're asking for a loss, right? Especially when Carolina is on the road. They've only won 2 games this season. Both of them have been at home, and they've been against teams that, for lack of a better word, were struggling at that time. Houston was playing good football, but they still weren't the team that we know them to be right now. And the Falcons came in there in a rainstorm, essentially in a monsoon, and they were able to get them 9-6. You picked the Giants. I mean, I want to wag my finger at you, but you're literally a bad Tyrod Taylor 2-point conversion pass away from this being a different game. If he makes a good throw to Saquon Barkley, who's wide open, they might beat the Rams 27-26 instead of losing 26-25. But and then you pick Cincinnati. I know they were up early, but it's still Cincinnati. You were asking for 9 losses, and more likely than not, you're asking for the piss cup. I can't see anybody having more than 9 losses. Yikes. In your gym, 1, 2, 3, 4, 12-4 for In Your Gym. That's a good week. Mike Jink. So we got the battle of the sexes here. Mike Jink and his fiance Tiffany going head to head here. Mike Jink had finally caught up. He had finally gotten even. Let's see how he did this week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10-6. Not great. Not terrible, but not great. And Tiffany went 1, 2, 3, 4, 11-5. Ouch. So now we go into the final week of the season with Tiffany up a game on Mike Jink. Tiffany, you just got to hold on now. You got him. You just got to box him out at this point. All right. Mike Jink, bro, you got to do it, man. You need to be up by 2 after week 18. You need to get her by 2 games to take the lead. And just, if you want to save face, you just need to get her by 1 game. That's it. That's going to be some interesting stuff next week to see what happens there, because that's 6 months worth of bragging rights. I mean, we're done until September. So technically speaking, we say 6 months, but the real action doesn't start until September. That's 8 months worth of bragging rights, my friend. So good luck. You might need it. Walt 260. You still got a week though, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 12-4 for Walt 260. Really good week there. Kevin the PRF. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 11-5. Not too shabby for Kevin the PRF. We already went through Big Baller Blake, who went 12-4 to extend his lead out by a game. Boss Man went I think 11-5, 12-4 rather. 1, 2, 3, 4. 12-4 for the Boss Man. And I'm disappointed because I went 11-5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So by virtue of him besting me by a game, he closed the gap by a game. So I'm only up 2 on him now. And for as bad of a year, in that also is featured the Piss Cup for Boss, he is still only trailing by 2 games. I am so disappointed that I have not been able to open up a sizable gap in margin between us so that I'm not sweating it out in week 18. But here we are. I got to make another week of picks that are good enough to keep this man at bay. Talked about Ricky D. Hustle and his 14-2. We can go ahead and put him in pink right now because nobody is going to touch that. He's going to be our high point man. He's going to be our peak performer of the week at 14-2. We'll see if he has any company, but nobody's going to beat that. J Cam Man 99, 1, 2, 3. Hell of a week for J Cam Man 99. He could have used this performance probably 2 weeks ago when he was right in the thick of things. He's kind of fallen off the wagon a bit. This 13-3 helps a lot, but probably too little too late at this point for J Cam Man 99. But it's a hell of a season for J Cam Man 99. That's for sure. Media Truth 1, 2, 3, 4, 12-4 for Media Truth. That's a good week for him. Rich 1, 2, 3, 4. A good week for Rich. Rich actually had a really good season. There was a little stretch there where Rich struggled though. And that's what cost him. Right? Rich was right in the mix. And then he had a couple of weeks there where he faltered. And that's what got him. And he broke the golden rule. He came over, peeked his head in the weekly pick'em, came in and won that thing. First time, boom, won. Left and ran with the money. Cardinal sin. And I didn't want to do him like that, but I had to reach out and touch him after that. And I didn't want to hurt him like that, but I did. I had to do it. And it took him a little while to recover. As you can see, he's done well. He's right there. But again, much like I said with J Cam Man 99, too little, too late. Bronco Kid 1, 2, 3, 4. I told you if this were there were playoffs after, Bronco Kid would be one of those dudes you just didn't want to see. He's so hot right now. It's ridiculous. But again, he's like the Chicago Bears who are playing excellent football right now, or the Lions from last year who didn't make the playoffs, but finished up at 9-8. That's kind of where Bronco Kid is right now. You don't want to play him. He's the Rams of the NFC. You really don't want to play him right now. The Bills of the AFC, right? Mike Lowry, 1, 2, 3, 13-3 for Mike Lowry. Hell of a week. Turned in by Mike. Major Tutty, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11-5 for Major Tutty. Tyrant 78, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 9-7 for Tyrant 78. 100 Grand was one of the people I said I wanted to knock off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 12-4. So he gained a game on me. I think I was already trailing him by a game last week, so that doesn't help the cause. I think I'm at 155. Yeah, and he's now at 157. So I didn't make it any easier on myself to catch him. That sucks, but I'm not giving up. Big time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 11-5 for big time. Solid week. Bronco Billy. I hope we didn't break Navy Ramjet last week. And it's the holidays and, things happen. So hopefully we didn't break him. He got the Piss Cup last week and then for the first time all season didn't send in picks. We didn't break him. We didn't break him. Bronco Billy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 12-4 for Bronco Billy. A really solid week there. My guy, Samuel Pando. Oh, man, Sam. I see a lot of red here, bro. Remember, he was one of the few people that I was rooting for. I said I wanted him to get back to 500. Like, that was the goal. This doesn't look like it's going to help. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, let me count them just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Whew. Yikes. I'm going to have to drop some of that piss on you with a Twin D. Oh, man. Ugh. Now that puts him 6 games under. He was so close. At 7-9 this week, drops him 2 more games below 500. So he was within 4. Now he's back to 6, and with 16 games left, next week. I can't see him making up that difference. He'd literally have to go, 11-5 next week to break even. Anything above that, and he would get to above 500. But I don't know if he's had a week like that all year long. I didn't want him to put that kind of pressure on himself. I just wanted him to be in a position where next week, if he went, 10-6, he'd be at 500. That's doable. Now he's going to have a Herculean effort. And I don't know if he has that in him or not. That's a sad state of affairs. Mr. HTTR, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11-5 for Mr. HTTR. Cody, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11-5 for Cody. HTTR Carson was another person, much like Bronco Kid, who was just piping hot down the stretch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he cooled off a little bit this week at 11-5. That's not terrible, but that ain't the stretch. That ain't the tear that he had been on of late. Derek B was another person that I wanted to catch. And 1, 2, 3, 4. That I didn't do myself any favors there. He gained another game on me. So he's now 3 games up with 16 to go. Obviously, 1 week of football left. I really wanted to gain a game on him and close that gap. It's going to be tough because me and Derek B, we think a lot alike. I can't see our picks, really veering off from one another enough to where there's probably going to be enough differences for me to gain 3 games on him. And then I would have to win all of those games, obviously. So I needed to win. That Bears-Falcons game was a big one for me. And then the Packers-Vikings was another kind of a showdown game that I needed to have, and I didn't get either one of them. Luckily, I got the Seahawks-Steelers game, or else it would have been over for me in that regard. But Derek B goes 12-4, another good week for Derek B. Juice, 1, 2, 3, 4, 12-4 for Juice. Good week there. Big bet the board, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11-5 11-5 for bet the board. We already talked about Smack City going 11-5 and dropping back a game of first. So now 2 games back of first place. And Big Baller Blake, Gridiron King, 1, 2, 3, 4, 12-4 for Gridiron King, who was once in third place. May have gotten as high as second. I know Gridiron King was in third at one point, but had a little rough go of it there. And again, as you can see, kind of fell back a little bit. Finished up strong though. Metaphor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10-6 for Metaphor. Hype Dude, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11-5 for Hype Dude. Soul, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11-5 for Soul, who was in third place, was tied for third, but due to Jordan Jones's 12-4, Jordan Jones took the lead and wrestled away third place solely, and now Soul is 1 game back of Jordan Jones, who is now in third. So Soul still within striking distance, only 4 games off the lead. So can't count Soul out, but tough road ahead with 1 week to go. Rick the Ruler, 14, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 10-6. We talked about Jordan Jones and his 12-4 already. And Dandrix, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10-6 for Dandrix. So Big Baller Blake remains in first. We got Smack City in second and Jordan Jones taking sole possession of third place. A lot of you are right outside of third with a chance still. You're going to need a monster week, obviously, and then you're going to also need help. So you're in the hunt if you're out of the top 3, but you know when you're in the hunt, a lot of times you need help, right? You just winning isn't going to be enough. You're going to not only have to win and win big, you're going to also need help from those in front of you to get you where you want to go. Ricky D. Hustle, shout out to Ricky D. Hustle for turning in a 14-2 week and being the peak performer in week 17. And then, of course, Samuel Pando and Twin D both have the distinction of sipping from the piss cup here in week 17, both losing 9 games and going 7-9. So that is week 17's winners and losers. 1 week remains. 3 games separate first, second, and third. Who will come out victorious? Big Baller Blake, you just got to do it one more time, my man. 1 more week, and it's all yours. All right, Smack City, you've been in the position of the front runner for most of the year. Here's your opportunity to claim what has been yours most of the year. See what you do. Jordan Jones has kind of been waiting in the weeds, has been playing a hell of a season this year. Now can you strike when it matters most? We'll see. Anyway, I digress. Let me get the 2 Piss Cup recipients to come forth, take a knee. Y'all know how this works, especially you, Samuel. I don't have to explain how this works for you. You go ahead and take a knee. I'm going to just break you off real quick. Here you go. You go ahead and do what you do. Meanwhile, Twin D, I'm disappointed in you. I'm not going to lie. You had such a really good year. Matter of fact, where we at, Twin D? Can I get you? Because I thought you had left me for dead. Like, there was no way I was going to be able to catch you. But after a week like this, you might have opened the door back up for me. Yeah, we tied. No, matter of fact, I done took the lead over you. You had me. There was no way. I'm ahead of you by 2 games now. So, yeah, I'm feeling good about that because me and you had talked a couple of weeks ago, and I was giving you credit on how good of a year you turned in. But we both said we were both disappointed in how neither one of us had won multiple weekly pick'ems. I think you won 1, and I've won 1, and that's it. And I know last year you won like 4 or 5 of them joints. Usually I win no less than 3. Usually I win 3 or 4. You were killing it last year. Both of us are struggling this year, but that is nor here nor there. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section. Twin D, if you need any pointers on how to get all of that piss down, just holler at your boy Samuel Pando. He's a pro. He'll show you the ropes and how to get that down. I know the gag reflex starts to kick in when you get that first taste of piss. It's not, the most desirable, and it's an acquired taste. But, once you're able to get that gag reflex to calm down, it goes down smooth, I heard. I don't know if it goes down as smooth. It's pretty acidic, right? Hits you back here is what I've been told. I don't know. I've never had it. But what I've been told, it hits you back here. So, I don't know. You let me know. Cam G, new member, stand up. You know what it is, Cam G. Really appreciate you. Feel like you've been a member already, but maybe I was tripping. Whatever the case may be, welcome to the squad. Glad to have you, Cam G. Let's get to the comment section. John Wynn says, Chicago Bears just clinched the #1 pick for this year's draft in 2024 as the new QB kit for Caleb Williams. What's the move for the Bears right now? Keep Fields or let him walk away? Well, they got a hell of a decision to make. And again, keep in mind, and you always have to keep this in mind when you start talking about a general manager making a decision like this one. I don't know if we've seen a general manager be in quite the conundrum like Ryan Poles, while it's a conundrum, it's also one of the best positions we've seen a GM be in, because if he stays with Fields, they're going to get a haul for the #1 overall pick. They're not going to stay there and make a selection. There's no way in hell that's going to transpire. If I'm Ryan Poles, I'm not only thinking about moving back once, I'm thinking about moving back twice. Because I think you can move back twice and still get your hands on Marvin Harrison Jr., right? Follow me on this. Now, Arizona is the one you got to watch, clearly, right? But if you move back to 2, say Washington is desperate, they want to get Caleb Williams, and you let them know, I got calls from other teams like, i.e. the Giants. If you don't come up here, I'm going to give the pick to somebody else. what you want to do. So you move back to 2, and you can really still get a lot for that and still be in a position to draft whoever you like. But you could go back to 2, and then you could still look around and say, hey, New England, I got the Giants on the phone right now. They are desperate to get up here to get fill in the blank. Drake May, Jaden Daniels, whomever. I'm just letting you know, if there's a quarterback in mind that you're interested in, I'm not even asking questions as to who they coming up to get. That's not my prerogative. I just know somebody else wants to pick. What you trying to do? You want this quarterback or not? Holler at your boy. Because if you go back to, say, 4, because I think New England's going to win on Sunday, and that's going to push them back, and I think it's going to push the Giants into the top 4, right? So if you're the Bears, you could then move back from, say, 2 to 4. You're still going to be in a position to get Marvin Harrison Jr. unless the Cardinals take him, which they could take him, and you could run the risk of missing out on him. But think about what you would have gotten from moving back from 1 to 2 and then from 2 to 4. Anyway, just a thought. I just need you to keep this in mind. Ryan Poles didn't draft Justin Fields. That's something to take into consideration. Love what he's doing. Feel good about what he's been able to do in terms of his maturation and his growth. But is it enough to stop you from selecting a guy that a lot of people have said, this is the best quarterback prospect I've scouted since ... whether that's Joe Burrow or Andrew Luck? You fill in that ... You fill in that blank. Is Ryan Poles one of those guys that feels that way about Caleb Williams? If the answer is no, you hold on to Fields, you move the pick, and you move on with the assets that you'll acquire. If the answer is yes, you got to trade Justin Fields. So we'll see what happens. The Bears are in quite the position. It's one of the most unique positions we've ever seen a team be in at number 1 overall. We've seen teams be at number 1 overall and not need a quarterback and be in a position to trade away the pick. The Bears did it last year. The Jags did it after having the number 1 overall pick 2 years in a row, and the year prior taking Trevor Lawrence. They didn't trade the number 1 pick the next year because there was no quarterback that anybody wanted in the 2022 draft. So they had to take an edge rusher. There are quarterbacks that teams want, and there are a bunch of needy quarterback teams. Somebody's coming up if the Bears decide that they're going to hold on to Fields. Who's that someone is the question. We'll see. Got a super chat from Reedy Davis. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Reedy Davis writes, Lou, I know we won a high draft, but make our season by beating those Cowgirls. I normally would side with you on this one, Reedy Davis. I can't. I'm sorry. This is too important to the overall health and not just the long term, but more specifically the short term future of this team. If you want to win that badly, you need to lose this game. In order to win, you need to lose. If that makes sense, it probably doesn't, but you need to lose to win. If you win this game, you actually lose. Dallas has been laughing at us. Even if we cost them the division, so forth and so forth, it doesn't matter. You've really, truly lost if you beat Dallas. You didn't win, you lost. I want no parts of a win over Dallas here because of what that could mean to the short and the long-term future here in Washington. The immediate impact is now you've put yourself in a tough position to get a quarterback, at least one that we think is of the upper echelon of this group. Who's to say what happens? We've gone over this before, and we'll go over it many more times. During the offseason, we'll talk about this stuff ad nauseum, but there's no exact science to this. This quarterback thing, this draft thing is a crapshoot. 3 of these guys may go in the top 5. the likelihood is only one of them is going to be any good. The last time we saw 3 quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3 was in 2021, and the only one that turned out to be any good is Trevor Lawrence. The other 2 were Zach Wilson and Trey Lance. One can't even get on the field has been traded from the team that originally drafted him in Trey Lance, who went 3rd overall. And the other has stunk it up so bad that we don't even know if his future resides with the team that drafted him, in Zach Wilson. So we don't know. The likelihood is the guy that doesn't go number 1 overall, probably those other 2 probably aren't going to turn out to be all that great. That's what history says. Doesn't mean it's going to be right. Doesn't mean it's going to be right. We saw 1 and 2 quarterbacks go 1 and 2 last year, and the number 1 overall pick is struggling mightily right now. Meanwhile, number 2 is killing it, turning in one of the greatest rookie seasons we've ever seen. You have no idea. We have no idea what's going to take place. All we want to do is put ourselves in the best position to get our hands on a signal caller that can help change the fortunes of this franchise. Winning the game against Dallas lessens the likelihood that we'll get that guy. Doesn't mean we won't. It just lessens the likelihood that we do. That's all. Smack City, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Smack City writes, draft Penix at 2. He got it. That's going to be a phenomenal discussion. I've got a lot to say, and I'm going to drop a video on that tomorrow. But that's an interesting conversation, to say the least. Michael Penix Jr. Anyway, I digress. Niners fan writes, I told you Penix was a dog. Some of those throws yesterday were insane. Y'all on the East Coast been sleeping on him. Not y'all. Okay. I see, this is the thing that I think Niners fan and a lot of people fail to realize. And it's no knock on Penix, but it exists. It's a narrative, if you will. Whether right or wrong, it is a narrative that exists. Okay. And you can't fault anyone for bringing it up. Again, whether right or wrong. I liken Michael Penix Jr. to someone who has failed Algebra 2 3 times. I would hope that your 4th time taking Algebra 2, you'd be able to ace the class. Okay? Michael Penix Jr. has been in college for 6 years. 6 years. He's played a ton of football. I would hope he's going through his progressions quickly. I would hope he's understanding college defenses. I would hope he would be at the position that he's at and playing at the level that he's playing at, because he's played a lot of football. You know, there's this narrative out there that, oh, he's 24 years old, he's this, he's that. Yeah, he's older, but I don't really put too much stock into the age of a quarterback coming into the NFL. Unless you're like 28. Okay, that's a little extreme. You're 24, it happens. You know, people will bring up Joe Burrow, but here's the difference between Joe Burrow, and I always like to kind of liken it to college basketball as well. But, you know, Joe Burrow came into the league. He did a lot of transferring and things of that nature. The difference was Joe didn't play a lot, you know. Joe got beat out at Ohio State. Joe went to LSU. He played his first year. He was okay. He came back and played that last year, and you saw what happened, right? And then he was gone. If you're good, you go. You're not sticking around in school for 80 years if they've told you, hey, you're going to be a first-round pick. Michael Penix stayed in school for 97 years because he was okay. You know, no one was salivating over the prospects of getting their hands on Michael Penix Jr. You know, had he come out last year, I don't know. You know, that was a meh class. He might have got swept up in the meh. I don't know if he would have differentiated himself enough to be in the first round with Kenny Pickett. He probably just would have got swept up in the meh and ended up in the second or third round, like the rest of those guys. Nobody got selected in the second. Maybe he would have. Maybe he would have ended up in the third with the rest of those bums. You know? Whatever the case may be, he stayed another year. He's elevated his draft stock clearly with his play. And, you know, people are wowed all of a sudden. But I'm like, I'd be disappointed if he wasn't doing this. I look at him like the guy that goes to school for 5 years in college basketball. If you're any good in college basketball, you're not staying for 5 years. You're not staying in college 5 years. You're just not. If Michael Penix Jr. was good enough, if people thought he was good enough, and I'm not saying he's not good enough to play at a high level in the NFL, if he thought he was good enough, if people thought he was good enough, he would have gone to the NFL already. He could have left after last year. He had a really good season last year. He didn't. It is what it is. He's good. How good? And obviously, we're going to talk ad nauseum about the injury stuff. You can't ignore that either. And I don't care that it was in high school. Understand that if you tear your ACL, you're more susceptible to tearing it again. That's just the nature of the beast. It is what it is. Let's see. Coop writes, hope I'm not pissy. I tried zigging while everyone else was zagging. God damn it. I was trying to go get the money. That money not there to go get for me anymore. Shaking my head. I can't be mad at you for trying, right? I can't be mad at you for trying. Like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. You tried something different. It just didn't work. But it's not for a lack of trying. I can respect that. I can respect that. Niners fan writes, Lou, thanks for a great 2023. The highlight for me was the draft party. Your best one yet, in my opinion. Wishing you the best for 2024. I always have a lot of fun with you guys during the draft party. We're going to do it again this year. And looking forward to creating new memories in 2024. 2023 was outstanding. Best year for the LouieTeeNetwork, and it's all because of you guys. I mean, look at the LouieTeeNetwork exclusives. I mean, the Survivor pool was $1,220, and the Winners and Losers League is $1,475. That's all you guys. So, again, it just speaks to the growth of what we're doing over here, and it speaks to your involvement in all of it. And I can't thank you guys enough, man. And Niners fan, this has been a fun year. Your year is just beginning, right? Your guys are #1 seed, and you got a chance to go win a chip. Go get it, man. Go get it. Niners fan also writes, by the way, I saw LB calling for Sirianni to be fired. Even though I dislike him, I think it's crazy for him to be fired after a Super Bowl. I told you, I wanted to see how the Eagles, and not just the players, not just the coaches, but the fans as well. I wanted to see how they handled adversity. They're showing their ass. They're showing their true colors. This thing is a train wreck. You would think the Eagles had a dream team-like season with all the expectations after going to the Super Bowl last year. You would have thought that they came back and they went 8-8 or 7 or 8-9 or 7-10. These boys still have a shot at winning the division. And I get it. The expectations were high. You were 10-1, but who didn't see the writing on the wall? And I've been telling them this, and this is the part that I enjoy the most, because who doesn't like being right? I kept telling these boys, hey, you're winning, and they didn't want to hear this, right? Because they thought this was loser talk over here. So they didn't want to listen to me. You shut up. Your team sucks, and you can't go to the playoffs. Okay. But I'm just telling you, you're barely getting by. Your defense is trash. Your offense hasn't been all that impressive. Just understand that if teams stop doing foolishness against you and your offense at any point ever stops scoring 38, because your defense can't stop the opposition from scoring 34, 35, or 30. If you ever stop scoring 38, look out. You could be in some trouble. The offense is grounded to a halt, and the defense is continuing to get worse and worse every single week. And now they're searching for answers. They're finger pointing. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing to watch. This whole dismemberment, this whole blame game, it's beautiful to watch. And it's amazing that we've come literally 6 weeks ago. Hell, not even 6 weeks ago. Literally 5 weeks ago. The Eagles were 10-1. And now 5 weeks later, they're calling for their head coaches. Some of them, not everyone. Some of them are calling for their head coach's job. That's insane. But that is a sign of a team that can't, and a fan base that can't handle adversity. I love it. I love it. Door Gunner, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Door Gunner writes, I am flying up for the game, going to help push Ron out of the door. Can we get this offseason right? We could be cooking with gas. I miss the old days. If we get this offseason right, the NFL of all the leagues, the NFL is the one that's set up for the quickest turnaround if you do things correctly. If you hit that inside straight, the NFL, because every year we see it, there are going to be 4 or 5 teams who didn't make the playoffs the year before that are going to make it next year. The Texans or the Colts are going to make the playoffs this year. One of the two, right? Sunday's game, or Saturday rather, Saturday night's game will determine which one of those teams makes the playoffs. The Texans going into the year were thought to be one of the worst teams in football, and the Colts were supposed to be rebuilding with Anthony Richardson at quarterback and a brand new head coach. Remember, their season started with a mess of a situation with Jim Irsay and Jonathan Taylor. We were pointing, we were laughing. What a disaster that situation is. He signed an extension to stay there, which nobody saw coming. And their head coach is in the running for head coach of the year. And they're one game away from making the playoffs. The same Indianapolis Colts team that drafted in the top 5 last year. That same Colts team. The same Colts team that wanted their GM's head on a stick prior to the season starting. That same Colts team. The Texans are a team that's been a joke. They fired their head coach each of the last 3 years before this year. They were going nowhere fast. No one believed in the direction that they were going in. Hell, they didn't even know what direction they were going in. They were directionless. They hired DeMeco Ryans. They get the quarterback in CJ Stroud right. I think they've made some great moves, including, Tank Dell in the 3rd round, bringing in some of those 49er veterans to stabilize the defense. Voila. They're fighting for a playoff spot. If done correctly, you can turn around your organization very quickly. You got to get lucky, but you also got to be good at what you do. We'll see what happens. Reedy Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up for rights. Lou, this quarterback class is short. 6'2" should be the minimum we look for with talent. I mean, that's how the college football, situation is. That it's less about, finding that big, strapping 6'4" quarterback like it used to be back in the day, that pocket passer. Now it's about finding the best athlete that you can find that can also throw the football. And a lot of these dudes aren't 6'4", 6'5". A lot of these dudes are 6 feet, 6'1", maybe 6'2", right? So that's why I think a lot of people are really enamored with Penix, because I think he's 6'3". Drake May can move. He's 6'4". And Jaden Daniels obviously is another 6'3", 6'4". I think he's more 6'4", but he's somewhere in that neighborhood. He's a big guy with some wheels. But Caleb Williams is the shorter quarterback. Absolutely. Absolutely. Door Gunner, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Eagles fans brag about being bullies. Like most bullies, they can't handle being punched back. Single-ply toilet paper champs. I love it, because a wise man once told me everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face. The Eagles have been bullies these last 2 years or so. But there's nothing like bullying the bully. And we all know that most bullies can't handle when somebody actually fights back and isn't scared of them. And you're seeing that. That's why I wanted to see how they handled adversity. Because this is how it usually goes when you bully the bully. This is exactly how it usually goes. How y'all over there coming with the piss? Oh, I already knew you were going to be done with yours, Sam. Samuel, you go ahead, put the glass down. You good, man. How you coming over there, twin? Oh, man. I told you to ask Sam. He could have helped you with that, man. Keep going. You're almost there. I see about a third of a glass left. Go ahead and knock that down, man. Anyway, let's get to a few more comments and we'll get out of here. Let's see. J Camman says, what was crazy about week 17 is that I predicted 13 home wins, which I knew wasn't going to happen. So I was surprised there weren't many more away wins, but my 3 away wins were all correct. Usually as you get closer to the end of the season, the home team, that's when that home field advantage starts to kick in. But it just depends on who's at home. Because if you get garbage teams at home, like Washington playing against San Francisco, it doesn't matter that Washington was at home. They weren't going to beat San Francisco, right? So it just depends. I didn't expect Minnesota to get run over like a runaway freight train by Green Bay, but they did start Jaron Hall, so anything could happen, and it was a disaster. And the defense didn't stop Jordan Love at all in that game, and the end result is a 33-10 ass whooping. Didn't see that one coming, but for the most part, who saw Arizona going into Philadelphia and winning? I didn't. I'm not going to sit here and act like I did. I didn't. But you expected, a lot of the road teams or home teams to take care of business. I thought Mike Tomlin, and this was my logic with the Steelers. I didn't think they were going to beat the Ravens in week 18. And in my mind, if Mike Tomlin is to keep his streak of not having a losing season alive, he needed to just go ahead and win in week 17 and dead all of that, so that if they didn't beat the Ravens in week 18, he'd be able to say, I did it again. I didn't know the Ravens were going to destroy the Dolphins the way that they did, clinch the number 1 overall seed, and not have to play their starters. The Steelers are going to win in week 18 now. And so Tomlin's going to have a shot at making the playoffs, which is going to drive that fan base nuts, because if they get in, they're going to get in as a 7 seed and probably get destroyed by the 2 seed. Potentially, it's Buffalo. Anything can happen. The Bills haven't been playing the cleanest football, but I also don't see them beating Buffalo. But you just never know, right? Anyway, the only way the Steelers can get in, actually, I take that back. The only way the Steelers can get in is if Buffalo loses. They can't both be in. Buffalo loses, they go out. Steelers win, they get in, right? If Buffalo wins, then Miami drops back to a wild card, and the winner of the Texans and Colts gets the final seed. So there's no way both Buffalo and Pittsburgh can get in. So if they were to get in, then they would be playing the Dolphins. They could beat the Dolphins. The Steelers could beat the Dolphins. But that's nor here nor there, because that's not happening, because the Bills are going to Miami and they're beating the Dolphins, who are reeling right now. And I already told you back after they lost to Philadelphia that the Bills were coming and that they were getting to the AFC Championship game, and I'm not backing off of that. J Cam, man, or hold on, I got a super here. Twin D. Good one, Twin D. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy, Twin D. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB rights. Hey, LT, I just tuned in. What did I miss? Twin D, my guy. You are currently finishing up the last corner of your piss cup. That is what you missed. So I'd say you didn't miss anything. You're right where you need to be. All right. Good to see you. I already talked about you and your journey this year, my journey this year, and how we've been disappointed. But this is a nasty way to finish up, Twin D. This is a nasty way to finish up with the piss cup, my friend. But at least you weren't drinking alone. At least you were not drinking alone, Twin D. JKMan99 says, my nephew had an NCAA bracket with only 11 total wins. I tried to explain it was hard actually to do that bad in so a way that it was an accomplishment. You know, that there's no way to spin that positively. That's absolutely horrible. JKMan99 says, what if there's a tie? Is the money split or is there a tie-breaking scenario? No, the money's just split. Back in the day, I used to do a tiebreaker, but it turned out to be way more work on my end to have a tiebreaker. Then, you know, I briefly experimented with tiers, first, second, third. So there would be, you know, the biggest pot would go to the first place, second place would get something, third would get something. And I let the, you know, people in the league vote on that, and that's what they wanted to try. And then they realized we're splitting, and obviously the pot is a lot bigger than it was then. They were splitting, you know, $300 for 3 ways. Like, it wasn't a big enough, you know, pot to be splitting. It's a little different now, but I just always feel like winner takes all is always better. You know, you come this far and you feel like, man, I should get something for second or third place, you know, but at the same time, getting the first is pretty damn, you know, special. And if you can do that, to the victors go the spoils. But to answer your question, there is no tiebreaker here. If you have a tie, and fortunately for us, we've never had a tie. So that could change, obviously, but it's generally, when we're talking about over 200 and some odd games in an NFL season, I think the number used to be 272 or 262, 256. I think it used to be 256 games in an NFL regular season. Now with the extra week, that's another 16. So I think you're going to be, what, 272? With 200, and I'd like to think that we're not going to finish with the tie. And I don't think we're going to finish with the tie. Anything could happen. As I mentioned, first and second place are separated by 2 games. First and third place are separated by 3. Anything could happen. But let's see what happens. I've never had to divvy it up that way. I don't think we will have to this week either, or this year rather, either. Kevin the PRF writes, made 2 reckless picks, didn't work out. Well, at least I put LT in my rear view for my rookie season. Yeah, I love to talk trash. I can't say anything to anybody this year. I've been absolutely putrid this year. And Next year, it's going to be like all business. Like I got from the word go. I can't talk myself into this. Oh, I'm starting slow, but I'll be up. I got to come out of the gate swinging next year. Like week 1, I got to be no worse than like 11-5. This week 1 set the tone for my season, and I didn't know it at the time. I think I went 7-9 in week 1. That shit set the tone for the entire season. I never recovered from my week 1 gaffe. I got to be better, man. DJ23 writes, I hate we have to wait until 4. I'm trying to get this season over with. A couple hours isn't going to kill you. Trust me. It'll be over soon enough. All right. JCamman99 writes, my week 1, 7-9. I picked the Giants over the Cowboys. Me too. Steelers over the 49ers. Me too. I don't know. Other than that, I remember a lot of upsets that I did the exact same thing. I went 7-9 just like you did. And the difference is you recovered. I never did. I never got back on that horse after that. So there is that. Twin D, you done? Yeah, okay. You're good over there. All right. Good job. Way to finish up. And with Twin D finishing up, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Week 18's edition of the Kickback. We got one more of these. I think we're going to do an award show this year. I think this warrants an award show. So we'll do that. Next week, we'll come back. We'll close out everything. And then we'll have one final show after that, an award show to celebrate and commemorate the best of the best and the worst of the worst in the 2023-24 winners and losers league. And just overall, really, the LTN exclusives. So that said, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this LTN exclusive Kickback Week 18 edition. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys one final time. This is it. We've gotten to the end of the season. It's bittersweet. It's been a lot of fun, but it's always a lot more fun when you win. And I did not do that this year. So I would be lying to you if I didn't tell you I was a little bit salty. But that said, I'm still happy for those of you who did get it done and are getting it done. You got one more week to get to the finish line. Let's see who does it first. But in saying that, thank you to all of you who participated this year and made the LTN exclusives what they ultimately turned out to be. It has been by far and away the best year for the LTN exclusives, and I look for them to continue to grow and be better and better in future years. And you got one more week of weekly pick'em. If you haven't played all year, why not play in the last week? If you've played all season, haven't won, here's your chance to do that. If you've played all season and you've only won once, here's your chance to double up, and double up. I've only won once. I'm looking to double up, trying to get it done on the way out. That would be a great finish to what has been a very disappointing season for yours truly. But I digress. You guys get out of here. See you guys next time. Until then, God bless and good night.